Let's take a look at some of your tweets that you sent through at Morning Live SABC. Your take, of course, on Winnie Madikizela Mandela. The first one from Ranto writing to Morning Live saying, a true icon, Winnie Mandela has fallen. Words seems to superfluous at times like this. Sipokuhle saying, death be not proud. Mam Winnie was one of our heroines. Rest in peace, Winnie. The next one from Expand saying, I'm the product of the masses of my country and the product of my enemy. Of course, quoting some of the famous words by Winnie Madikizela Mandela. Pamalat saying South Africa is mourning, will remember Mama for being strong, for being fearless. She held things together in a family while Tata Madiba was in prison. Our condolences goes to the family. Rest in peace, Mama. Chris writing to Morning Live as well this morning saying we should reflect as we bid farewell to one who did not flinch from the burden of choice but boldly answered the summons of history. Atwell saying the end of an era, there can never be another like her, a warrior, a fighter, a mother, a force, a rock, a movement. The last one from Strong Black and Hot saying, oh, that song, oh, Ibambeni, Webafazi, Ibambeni, it brings me joy and hope. Go well, Mama. All right, now in studio we're joined by the SABC's acting political editor, Sophie Mokoena, someone very close to the Mandela family, but most importantly, someone who's been very close to Winnie Madikizela Mandela. Oh, Sophie, good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Melissa.
Now, I want us to reflect on some of the things that the media is not really talking about. You've had an opportunity, of course, to talk to Winnie Madikizela Mandela on many occasions, and she's been described as a fearless someone who feared nothing, but a very strong person in character and very outspoken. She once spoke to you about the relationship of our former presidents, Nelson Mandela and Thabo Mbeki.
It wasn't only Nelson Mandela, but it was specifically the relationship of former presidents Thabo Mbeki and Jacob Zuma. And you'd recall in 2007, the ANC elective conference in Polokwane, it was quite divided, and to the build-up to the conference, she was concerned that something must be done. They can't go to a conference, the two leaders at each other's throat. And she tried to engage the two leaders, and she told me during the interview, the last interview she did with the SABC, and an extensive interview, as we had agreed that we'll talk about lots of things. And she even indicated at that moment that this is my last interview with you guys. I think I didn't think that time that that's what she meant, and really it will happen that should be the last interview. She raised concerns that she approached both the leaders to speak to them, to say let's find a way to deal with this issue. And when she told me that her intention was to ensure that they'll rather keep the status quo as it was. In other words, former President Thabo Mbeki coming back as the president of the ANC and President Zuma continuing as the deputy president of the ANC. But it wasn't to be. The two leaders had different supports, and their support base was adamant that they want, for example, President Zuma supporters want him as the president, and those who were supporting President Thabo Mbeki want him as the president. And that's where the famous quote, when I asked them, they said to me, Mama, awuyazi wena lensis. And the other one saying, Mama, you don't know, I'll tell you one day. And then she asked a question. I must do a follow-up to check what happened in Lusaka. I still have to do that, and I'm hoping that one day I'll be able to ask former presidents Thabo Mbeki and Jacob Zuma what happened in Lusaka.
Yeah. And the other issue, Sophie, that did not seem to have sat well with Winnie Madikizela Mandela, the expulsion of the then ANC Youth League President Julius Malema and other leaders, because I remember that she even hosted them in her house. You were there during that particular meeting. What was the mood like?
Well, she was hurt. She was broken. She was devastated after the Youth League members were expelled. In fact, before the appeals committee read the final verdict against the leaders, I'm talking here about Malema, I'm talking about Floyd Shivambu, I'm talking about Lamola, I'm talking about the late Makaka. Makaka called me before the verdict, and she said to me, pleading with me, Mam Sophie, please ask the ANC not to expel us. And when they arrived there, I mean, Winnie was heard that they were finally expelled. And they went there, they spoke to her, and she indicated to them that it wasn't the end of the day, or perhaps the end of the world, and they are young, they can still recover. And here we are today having a EFF, the party that's led by some of those who were expelled.
Yeah, and recently, during one of her interviews with SABC, she said that she would die in peace only if Malema would go back to the ANC.
Yes, it was in 2014, the same exclusive interview, a long interview, where at the end, she's talking about bringing back Malema into the ANC. And you know very well, again, during the voter registration in Soweto, where she was with the president of the ANC and the president of the Republic, Ntate Cyril Ramaphosa, at Maponya Mall again, she uttered the same words, that she's still hopeful that she will bring back all those who left the ANC, not only Malema, even those who left went to cope and others. But of course, he had a very strong relationship with Julius Malema. Even when the spokesperson of the EFF and Roses had a party in December, Winnie was there to support them, because she felt that these are just the children doing something in the country, and perhaps the political differences shouldn't dictate in terms of her relationship with them. Neither should color or creed or political
Also,
inclination.
there's so much to talk about, but just a quick one on this. If you were to look back at the interview that you had with Mama back in 2014 and your recent interaction with her during the voter registration week, I would want to ask you, do you think Mama died a happy soul? But we have to take a quick ad break. We'll continue, of course, our discussion here on Morning Live. That's the acting political editor of the SABC News, Sophie Mokoena. We're taking a quick ad break here on Morning Live.